Is it recording, Charlie?
Yeah.
I think it is now. Hi, Ron and Penny. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading A Year in Provence by Peter Mayle. And let me just turn up the volume and make sure that you can hear me. Oh yeah, it was really down really low. That wouldn't have been good. Okay. Here's the first picture, which is really cool. January. The year began with lunch. We have always found that New Year's Eve, with its 11th hour excesses and doomed resolutions, is a dismal occasion for all the forced jollity and midnight toasts and kisses. And so, when we heard that over in the village of Lacoste, a few miles away, the proprietor of Le Simeon was offering a 6-course lunch with pink champagne to his amiable clientele, it seemed like a much more cheerful way to start the next 12 months. By 12:30, the little stone-walled restaurant was full. There were some serious stomachs to be seen, entire families with the embonpoint that comes from spending 2 or 3 diligent hours every day at the table, eyes down and conversation postponed, in the observance of France's favorite ritual. The proprietor of the restaurant, a man who had somehow perfected the art of hovering, despite his considerable size, was dressed for the day in a velvet smoking jacket and bow tie. His mustache, sleek with pomade, quivered with enthusiasm as he rhapsodized over the menu. Foie gras, lobster mousse, beef en croûte, salads dressed in virgin oil, hand-picked cheeses, desserts of a miraculous lightness, digestifs. It was a gastronomic aria, which he performed at each table, kissing the tips of his fingers so often that he must have blistered his lips. The final bon appetit died away, and a companionable near silence descended on the restaurant as the food received its due attention. While we ate, my wife and I thought of previous New Year's days, most of them spent under impenetrable clouds in England. It was hard to associate the sunshine and dense blue sky outside with the 1st of January, but as everyone kept telling us, it was quite normal. After all, we were in Provence. We had been here often before as tourists, desperate for our annual ration of 2 or 3 weeks of true heat and sharp light. Always when we left, with peeling noses and regret, we promised ourselves that one day we would live here. We had talked about it during the long gray winters and the damp green summers, looked with an addict's longing at photographs of village markets and vineyards, dreamed of being woken up by the sun slanting through the bedroom window. And now, somewhat to our surprise, we had done it. We had committed ourselves. We had bought a house, taken French lessons, said our goodbyes, shipped over our 2 dogs, and become foreigners. In the end, it had happened quickly, almost impulsively, because of the house. We saw it one afternoon and had mentally moved in by dinner. It was set above the country road that runs between the 2 medieval hill villages of Minerbe and Bonnieu. At the end of a dirt track through cherry trees and vines, it was a M-A-S, I think is just I don't think you pronounce the S, or farmhouse, built from local stone, which 200 years of wind and sun had weathered to a color somewhere between pale honey and pale gray. It has started life in the 18th century as one room, and in the haphazard manner of agricultural buildings, had spread to accommodate children, grandmothers, goats, and farm implements until it had become an irregular 3-story house. Everything about it was solid. I'm going to pause and take a drink. You can see on the couch behind me to my right, that's Charlie. You can wave, Charlie, if you want to. He's playing a game on my phone. NBA Live Ron, of course. You know how we love basketball, and you guys do too, so that's pretty cool. Sometime he'll try and show you his lineup. It's really interesting. Okay, here we go. The spiral staircase, which rose from the wine cave to the top floor, was cut from massive slabs of stone. The walls, some of them a meter thick, were built to keep out the winds of the Mistral, which they say can blow the ears off a donkey. Attached to the back of the house was an enclosed courtyard, and beyond that, a bleached white stone swimming pool. There were 3 wells. There were established shade trees and slim green cypresses, hedges of rosemary, a giant almond tree. In the afternoon sun, with the wooden shutters half closed like sleepy eyelids, it was irresistible. It was also immune, as much as any house could be, from the creeping horrors of property development. The French have a weakness for erecting jolies villas wherever building regulations permit, and sometimes where they don't, particularly in areas of hitherto unspoiled and beautiful countryside. We had seen them in a ghastly rash around the old market town of Apt, boxes made from that special kind of livid pink cement, which remains livid no matter what the weather may throw at it. Very few areas of rural France are safe unless they have been officially protected, and one of the great attractions of this house was that it sat within the boundaries of a national park, sacred to the French heritage and out of bounds to concrete mixers. The Luberon Mountains rise up immediately behind the house to a high point of nearly 3,500 feet, and run in deep folds for about 40 miles from east to west. Cedars and pines and scrub oak keep them perpetually green and provide cover for boat, rabbits, and game birds. Wildflowers, thyme, lavender, and mushrooms grow between the rocks and under the trees, and from the summit on a clear day, the view is of the Bas Alpes, I guess that's how you pronounce it, Bas Alpes, on one side and the Mediterranean on the other. For most of the year, it is possible to walk for 8 or 9 hours without seeing a car or a human being. It is a 247,000-acre extension of the back garden, a paradise for the dogs, and a permanent barricade against assault from the rear by unforeseen neighbors. I'm just checking. Okay, I have 1 minute and 20 seconds because I did make a video, but it turned out like 23 minutes and it didn't upload correctly. So I have a timer on for 10 minutes so I won't overdo it, mess up the video. Neighbors we have found take on an importance in the country that they don't begin to have in cities. You can live for years in an apartment in London or New York and barely speak to the people who live 6 inches away from you on the other side of a wall. In the country, separated from the next house though you may be by hundreds of yards, your neighbors are part of your life and you are part of theirs. If you happen to be foreign, and therefore slightly exotic, you are inspected with more than usual interest. And if, in addition, you inherit a long-standing and delicate agricultural arrangement, you are quickly made aware that your attitudes and decisions have a direct effect on another family's well-being. We had been introduced to our new neighbors by the couple from whom we bought the house over a 5-hour dinner, marked by a tremendous goodwill on all sides, and an almost total lack of comprehension on our part. The language spoken was French, but it was not the French we had studied in textbooks and heard on cassettes. It was a rich, soupy patois, emanating from somewhere at the back of the throat, I'm just going to finish the page. I'm passing through a scrambling process in the nasal passages before coming out as speech. Half-familiar sounds could be dimly recognized as words through the swirls and eddies of Provençal. Demain became demang, vin became vang, maison became maison. That by itself would not have been a problem had the words been spoken at normal conversational speed and without further embroidery, but they were delivered like bullets from a machine gun, often with an extra vowel tacked onto the end for good luck. Thus an offer of more bread, page 1 stuff in French for beginners, emerged as a single twanging question. Encore de panga? Sorry, I rolled my R. Encore de panga? Fortunately for us, the good humor and niceness of our neighbors were apparent, even if what they were saying was a mystery. Henriette was a brown, pretty woman with a permanent smile and a sprinter's enthusiasm for reaching the finish line of each sentence in record time. So hopefully this worked, and we will upload it. Bye, guys.